Your Excellency, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, that's your panel that will be taking a look at quality education, the bridge to the future. Over to the moderator.
Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, welcome. If indeed the level of development of any nation is inextricably linked to the quality of education of her people, then we have a huge task on our hands. Every problem our nation has can be traced to either the lack of education or the lack of quality education. It's time for us to be visionary again. We must begin with the end in mind. We must define what the educated Nigerian of the future is supposed to look like. We have a lot of questions to answer, and this panel is prepared to do that. We must ask ourselves, how do we increase access in our universities? How do we make universal primary education truly free? How do we increase the scores or the performances of our children who take the NECO or the WAEC exams? How do we create an entrepreneurial platform that will move us into the future? How do we create a curriculum that gets our children ready for a globally competitive environment? We know the problems that we have. We will not be rehashing those problems in this session. We are looking for answers, and we invite you to listen to someone who is going to lay the groundwork for where we are and where we need to be, and some of the things that we need to consider as we do these things. I give you Mr. Tom Rudnick.
Please, as Roderick takes the stage, I'd like to invite here one of the other panelists, the Honorable Minister of Health, Professor Onyebuchi Chukwu, to also join the panel. Professor Onyebuchi Chukwu, please.
Your Excellency, Mr. Vice President, Honorable Minister of Education, Honorable Chairman of the NESG, board members, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, your country is at a crossroads. Your educational system is in disarray. Your economic future as a nation weighs in the balance. I am here today to share a vision, a picture of the future, and with a hope to pull that future into the now, generating a faith that we need to create the future of Nigeria.
Houston, we have a problem. We have a main bus being undervolted. We've got a lot of thruster activity here in Houston. We just went offline. Oh, there's another master alarm, Houston.
I'm checking the quad.
Of course, there's no refresh valve.
Maybe it's the quad.
We've got a computer restart.
I'm trying to reconfigure the RCS.
We've got a base light.
Fire doesn't make any sense.
We've got multiple caution and warning, Houston. We've got a restart.
Abuja, we have a problem. Nigeria is the most populous country in Africa with 110 million young people under the age of 24. Nigeria has the world's highest number of out-of-school children. Adult and youth literacy are at the unacceptable levels of 61% and 72% respectively. The World Economic Forum's Global Competitiveness Report in 2012-13 lists 12 pillars for global competitiveness, which are shown. Based on key indicators, Nigeria has a global competitiveness ranking of 115 out of 144 countries. When it comes to health and primary education, Nigeria is almost last with a ranking of 142. Higher education and training has a ranking of 113. Innovation is at the middle with 78, which gives me hope to believe that Nigerians will have the capacity to see and create a new future you so desperately need. Nigeria is listed as a stage 1 factor-driven economy competing primarily on low-skilled labor and natural resources. Let's take a look at pillars number 4 and 5. A closer look reveals some significant challenges. Gross primary education enrollment is 57.6%, meaning over 40% of young children are not in school. Gross secondary education enrollment is even worse at 44%. Tertiary gross enrollment is at 10%. The fact sheet on education in Nigeria is rather bleak. There are 24 million more illiterate adults today than 20 years ago. There are 10.5 million out-of-school children, and if on an average a school would accommodate 500 students, Nigeria would need to build 21,000 new schools just to accommodate the current out-of-school children at a cost of billions and trillions of naira. Nigeria cannot build schools fast enough, and so we will need creative approaches to adequately address this immense problem. If the system is broken, then we need to focus on those initiatives that will address the most critical areas such as literacy and numeracy and infrastructure development. This is done by applying system improvement strategies. The goal of system improvement is to catch up to the rest of the world. Nigeria will be pouring in billions of naira into an education reform to close the gaps with key performance indicators. But let's just pause for a moment. Why has the most powerful and richest country in the world, the United States of America, failed to reform its educational system? The last decade, the United States poured $110 billion into a program called No Child Left Behind, with the focus on raising test scores. Schools were held accountable for student achievement. Penalties were established for underperforming schools, and high-performing schools were rewarded for their improvement. After 10 years, there was no improvement. What a travesty, not just for the waste of money, but the increase of cynicism in the system, and more importantly, the loss of time to focus on what really needs to change. The end result was a blame game, with everyone pointing their fingers at someone, whether it was politicians or educators or parents or students. Let's take a look at the unintended consequences of a reward-punishment system like No Child Left Behind.
Former Atlanta Public Schools Superintendent Beverly Hall and 34 other top educators face felony charges because of these answer sheets, the 2009 standardized tests. In the fall of 2009, the state had outside experts analyze erasures on those tests. That analysis found strong indications of cheating at 191 public schools statewide, with suspicions most widespread in Atlanta Public Schools. Dr. Hall and her board formed a commission to investigate. 6 months later, no findings of widespread cheating.
We had no confessions. Nobody said they cheated. We didn't have subpoena power.
We have maintained all in all that we will prosecute to the fullest any cases of cheating, and that remains our intent.
In 2010, Governor Sonny Perdue appointed 3 special investigators to look into it. And in 2011, they